I've had to turn all of the fans off to film this, and I'm sweating. Right, how do you even start a video without just being like, hello audience, I am a YouTube person. Gross. Hello, I'm Jamie, and I'm here to tell you that some things are changing up. And if you want to watch this and decide whether the future of this channel is something that you are down for and would enjoy, then you need to make that assessment yourself, because I'm going to prep you and give you some information on why things are changing and what to expect going forward, so you can decide whether you want to stick around or not. Basically, I need to change, otherwise I'm quitting, because the grind for animated stuff is just, I say animated, it's mostly illustrated, but I basically backed myself into a corner with my channel, and I'm gonna explain that in this video and like what happened and like why I need to take things in a fresh direction for myself. So let me run you through what I'm gonna talk about in this video real quick. So I'm gonna go over the history of like why I started this channel in the first place and kind of what has led up to this point. I'm gonna talk about why all of that hasn't worked for me or wasn't working for me, what I need to change up, then what to expect from me going forwards, and what goals and hopes I have for my channel in future, and what I want to create and put out there in the world and just enjoy creating again. Like, my videos may not be the same as they were, but I'm hoping at the end of this you'll be able to see that there is a lot more to me than just my art skills. All right, so if that sounded interesting, stick around and listen up. Oh, hello, would you like a history lesson on my stairs? There's nowhere for me to like lean. This was not a good choice of place. History, all right. This is your first time watching one of my videos. You're about to learn some stuff about me and how I got to this point. Also, I happen to be trans, my pronouns are he, they. All right, so I'm one of those people that did an animation degree. Woo! I got a first class degree. Wow. It isn't as big of a deal as you think it might be, but I worked pretty hard, and it was 3 years of doing animation in London. From there, I worked in industry. I did some work for BBC, I did some stuff for like CBBC, I did some documentary things that won some awards, which was pretty cool. One of them got nominated for a BAFTA, I think. I was full into industry work. I was working with big companies and big agency or like big names, and it was an exciting time, but also got to have that time and realize there's the not so glamorous side to it in industry too. So YouTube wise, it's been something that I've been passionate about since YouTube began, really. In 2016, I made my first video, and at this time, Storytime Animation happened to be popping off. In making that video, I happened to get caught up in that wave and got swept up in the Storytime Animation boom, so much so that it kind of dictated what I wanted to make and do. So that happened, and I was just making videos for fun and just doing it on the side of work. And I happened to make a video about aphantasia that went viral, and at that point I was working full-time in London. I was thinking about, you know, moving on from that company at that time. So then I thought, well, what if I just go back freelance? Then I can have a chance to do YouTube stuff full-time. The problem is with animated story times is that they take a long time to make. Unless you've got a team behind you, you cannot put them out weekly. Even people who do have a team behind them can't put them out weekly. It's a long, arduous process. When the algorithm then tells you that it's favoring certain things and certain topics about, you know, that are maybe a bit more kid-friendly or whatever, then it kind of for me, it dictated what I made. And I'm still proud of everything I've made, but it didn't allow me to be me in the present. It was backpacking off me telling past stories. And I quickly realized that not only one day would I run out of them, that I also didn't want to tell much more about my personal life in the past than I had already. I got to the point where I wanted to change direction multiple times, but I wasn't sure how. I started engaging in some short form stuff, and those did phenomenally well, but also the algorithm favored, and it's my fault as well for doing that kind of content, but I got sucked into this is gonna do well, and I have the numbers to show it. Fuck, I have videos that have gone viral on TikTok and YouTube Shorts that have ridiculous figures. They're fun, sure, but for me, I've proven to myself now that numbers do fuck all for me. That is why I've taken the time out. There are going to be certain situations in life where you just like, you can't leave that job or you can't escape that situation. But overall, I think we need to be mindful of like how we're actually feeling about things. Because for me, always having that overriding like power through it, just give it your all, put more time into it, put more effort in, having that attitude my entire life, especially when things really aren't working out, and it's taking so much time and effort, it'll ruin you. It'll ruin your creativity. It'll ruin your passion, and that's why I had to change it up. So let's talk about it. This jumper kind of blends into the colours I've got going on here. Why are you covered in cobwebs? You've been under the decking again. You want to see Kepler? Here he is. Come on. Say please. Not on me. Say please. Say please. Thank you. Lucky for you, you're probably going to see a lot more of Kepler now too. Speak. Louder. Louder. Good. And then this is my personal favourite. Can you whisper? Whisper. See? Microscopic. Whisper. Yes, good boy. Little breather at the nose. He knows how to whisper. What a good boy. Why wasn't any of this working for me, and why I didn't change things up sooner? Alright, so I guess technically I don't really have to talk about this, but I want to, especially from having a background of illustrating and animating being my primary form of content. How it was just really unsustainable for me, because there are going to be loads of other people out there that also or like want to go into animation stuff, and I don't want you to set yourself up for failure like I did, especially if you've got a similar brain to me where you work really hard and you're a bit of a perfectionist. Yeah, you absolutely can make it sustainable. There are plenty of creators out there that make it work for them, that they love it and it brings them so much joy and they find it sustainable. I just put myself in that box and I just assumed that the harder I worked or the more I stuck at it, that it would eventually just kind of click. And it only took like one more video being successful for me to be like, okay, I can branch out or I can make this easier on myself. That just never came, and it's reached the point where it needs to change. So one of the problems for me personally is that I've always been a bit of a perfectionist. I used to have pride in it. I used to get rewarded for it. As a teenager, going into uni, I was rewarded for it. So it's you know, it's fair that in the pathway of my brain, I've learned that, yes, being so diligent and hardworking and perfectionist, I can't even say perfectionistic about my work is important, and it will get me where I want to go. That's what I learned. I think I started to realize that that wasn't working for me a very long time ago, but I didn't want to believe that because it was I'd formed so much of my identity around it, of like, that's how I work. That's me, you know? The darker side of that is never being satisfied with what you create, never being satisfied with where you are, focusing far too much on getting better, so much so that you can't appreciate the present or like where you're at, or just appreciate the journey, which I've realized, like life in general, like it's a shit time for everyone. And if I can't appreciate the journey, I am going to have a very bad time for the rest of my life. And I want to change that. It's important for me. With regard to me, especially with illustrating and animating, I felt like every single video had to be superior to the other in quality, in content, in script, everything. And this primarily came from myself. I've realized it's easy for me to say, oh, there was so much pressure on me from other people. It was definitely on from me. I probably could have still made videos in the same style and the same, you know, level of complexity as my very first video, which like kickstarted my channel, and it would have been fine. But for me personally, I could not do that. It's never enough. But what I've realized now is that I can channel that into a different way. And that drive, it doesn't necessarily have to mean be better. I don't like being stagnant. I don't like I don't like doing the same thing. That's what I've realized this entire time. And I happen to be a person with ADHD. And since having that diagnosis, it's been hard because it's made me realize where a lot of my struggles have come from. And for me, I hate doing the same thing for too long. I hate not being able to change things. Hate is a strong word. I like being spontaneous. I like having new projects, having new ideas, getting to run with it for short periods of time and then not necessarily changing direction, but just being able to experiment with new things and try new things. And when your content is primarily animated or illustrated, there is so much work that goes into that you just can't. Or what happens is, what happened to my channel. If you'll see a lot of the more successful animated or illustrated based channels, you'll see for the most part that they have a consistent style. Sure, they can bring in more people and it helps out with like getting backgrounds done, so one person isn't tackling everything because it's just so much work. Like a production, you have to keep tabs on like how much you're spending on a video, time-wise, effort-wise, in the same way that you would like, I guess, produce, and I'm not comparing what I do to an animated show, but I'm just saying that what I've realized is for it to work long-term, you need to have a plan and you need to have at least a rough idea of like how long things take and how much time you'll allocate to it to get it done, to make it sustainable, so that you can release videos on a semi-regular basis, because not all animators release, super regularly because the videos take so much time and effort to make. If YouTube is your primary source of income, whether that's just through AdSense or with bringing sponsors on, you need to be having at least a semi-regular upload, schedule, because they take so long to make. It means that every video needs to hit, not always hit hard and hit well, but you get what I mean. Because you don't have that flexibility with just like uploading once a week or just filming yourself, there needs to be that level of consistency in it for you to just manage to get through it. And I'll put some pictures up here. You've seen like basically every other video, like my style changes or the times where I've built a kind of puppet rig. I experimented with so many things and I kept thinking that every time I built a new rig or model or character or like planned on how I was going to do the video, I always thought to myself, this is it. This was perfect. I am going to stick with this. And then I'd get to the next video and realize that it's limiting how I want to express myself. Because my content was so centered around me and my stories, I always felt like at least needs to actually resemble me. And that's why I had to keep changing. But then it was so unsustainable for making videos. My God, like even if I built a rig and then 2 videos in, I'd be starting to use it again, I'd be realizing, oh, this is limiting, or oh, I personally changed my style, or oh, I'm not vibing with this. And the drive, and again, maybe an ADHD thing, the drive was suddenly there to create and want to make the new rig. And I would spend like a week or 2 or 3 like rebuilding everything and being so excited about it that when it actually came to making that video that I'd planned, the excitement was gone again because I'd powered through. I'd used that excitement to my advantage, but it was in one area and I couldn't then go on to make the video, or like I felt like the script was stale by that point. That's another thing. I love to change my style loads. I love to change my hair loads. And then when you've built a character around you, but I change a lot. Fun fact, the main reason my very early videos had a more like proportional character was not because I didn't want to go like really like exaggerated cartoony. I was just so afraid that people would look at like a cartoony representation of myself and then look at me in real life and be like, you've drawn yourself in a different way. Is that what you want to look like? That kind of stuff. Again, tying into my fears of like how I should present in real life and like how I want to express myself. It was just like a lot of like fear and like choosing things based on what I thought other people would want versus what I want. Yeah, I needed to undo all that, as you can see. Because I worked in industry and because I had a job as a viz dev artist and concept artist and did 2D animation, and I'll show some examples here, I'd be given weeks or months to do a few seconds or just do one one illustration as opposed to an entire video. So of course, that quality was going to be a lot higher because I had the chance to research things and plan things, and I had producers helping me schedule things. And yet for my content personally, I held myself to that standard as if I'm not worthy enough, as if like I was embarrassed that people would see my YouTube and think that that's all I could do, because in industry, oh, I do so much more. It was just a bad mindset. But of course then that pressure dictated me constantly wanting to one-up every video or make it stylish in a certain way. And there were pockets of videos that I really enjoyed experimenting with the style. I loved like the lineless style I did in my relationship video. I had so much fun with that. It was really tough to make it in Flash because the brushes were so awful. And I was really proud of that, but that video took so much effort to make. It was just so time consuming. It did well, but this leads into another problem with making that kind of content, and because it takes so long, I definitely saw a trend with the algorithm of certain videos, and I think it's because of my channel starting and growing at the time where Storytime Animation was kicking off.
Completely forgot to mention that also around this time, those zany, wacky, crazy fake stories that were just like not fake animation channels, you know what I mean? They were just like heartless, soulless, and definitely real stories. Anyway, Jarvis Johnson made a great video on it a few years ago. If you don't know what these are, they're freaking weird.
It was definitely the more like, I don't want to say dramatic, but very personal, like relationship-y, kind of heavier weight drama, personal stories that were doing well. And I just realized that like, I don't want to make those. There was only so much I want to tell, and I'm still pretty comfortable with what I've told. What that meant was because videos were so infrequent, there was definitely this pressure there to make videos that kind of ticked those boxes or didn't stray far from that kind of formula. And when I realized I didn't want to do that anymore and there wasn't much more that I wanted to tell, I felt pretty stuck. So I went back to telling stories about when I was a kid, because like I felt like that was a little bit more lightweight on, you know, it's not like too personal, it's more just like fun. But then I realized I don't want to keep talking about like just random things from when I was a kid. The main problem with it is that it is not me now. It is me telling past stories of myself that don't actually, sure, it'll bring a bit of joy and a bit of fun, but it doesn't actually serve me in propelling myself forward in life. I realized I wanted to make videos that push me forward now, that get me to experience life now, that get me to experiment with things now and develop who I am now, because I want to spend the time doing the things that I want to do rather than talking about me in the past. You know, and there still will be things relevant in future where I'll talk about bits from my past, but I realized I don't want that to be the focus anymore. I'm just done with it. If I'm gonna keep making YouTube stuff, it needs to be me now. And especially with my ADHD, I'm quite a spontaneous person. And like, why can't I just lean into that? I built up my life to be this. Like, I was gonna be a concept artist or viz dev artist forever in industry. This was my plan, right? And when it's not working out for you, then what the hell are you, and what the hell do you wanna do, and what the hell do you have to offer for the world? I just didn't know. And on that note, another thing I noticed was that I hate sitting in front of a screen all day. I hate it. Like, I don't mind doing a bit of editing, sitting in front of my Cintiq and drawing all day, or just being behind my desk. I don't like it. I do not like it. I need to be able to go out and explore and interact with the world and interact with people. It's so much easier for me to just get stuff done when I've got other people involved, or it isn't just me on my own, because my like time management skills, I just expect so much of myself that I can never get it done. But yeah, it was incredibly isolating. It was sad. I'd just be stuck at home all day behind my screen. And for some people that works out so well for them. For me, I finally realized that I really don't like this. I could be doing something else. And that's the beauty of being a creator. The whole point was to have flexibility with my life, for this to not happen. Because the other side of that is I've started to get wrist pain from drawing on the Cintiq, and I have really bad like neck and shoulder pain from hunching over, and because there's no like comfortable way for me to sit at the angle that my Cintiq is. Anytime I've had to do projects or sit at my desk, I've just not looked forward to it massively. It was just all became very overwhelming, and like I was annoyed at myself because I was like, why are you having a tough time with this? Like, you've done this so many times, just do it, you know? I'm also like quite poor at script writing because I really have trouble translating kind of my personality and my speaking style through scripting, because I'm always like overanalyzing it, almost like treating it like an essay, and it just ends up being quite void of personality. So when I come to record it, it gets to a point like a few weeks down the line, I'm just sick of it. I'm like, this is boring. There is no like injection of personality here. There's no flexibility for me to just have fun. It feels quite clinical. And I'm sure other people watching my videos probably don't feel that as much, but I know for a fact there's certainly way more room for me to be flexible and just have fun on the fly, which I can't do with the way things have been structured so far. So that's another reason why that needs to change for me. So this is gonna sound pretty lame to say. I have experienced insane success on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. It's just insane numbers. This is so paradoxical, because isn't that what every creator wants, right? Is mass success with videos and like proof that they do well and that you can achieve crazy numbers. And I was aiming to make those because I thought that, oh, like if I just got the success there in the first place, then I can eventually do my own thing. But then everybody that's seen that so far expects that kind of stuff. There are going to be people like laughing at me being like, look at this chump complaining that they have views on TikTok and Shorts. Oh no. I don't give a fuck. I'm just telling you as it is. I don't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. I don't care. Like, if I am going to do short form stuff, it's just going to mean something for me. Like, it's going to say something for me. That's what, and if that brings in a way smaller audience, I don't care. It's the kind of people that I probably want to get engaged with, because I've realized that mass success, just for numbers' sake, is not what I want. What I want is connection to things that means something to me. And that probably means a maybe smaller audience. So that's what I'm probably gonna do. If I'm going to be a creator online and deal with being self-employed and managing myself and all of the struggles I have had, it better bloody serve me. So that's what I'm gonna do. Going forward, this needs to work for me. It needs to help develop me personally. It has to get me to be engaged in the world and having a good time, because that was the entire point. Otherwise, I may as well just go back to industry. It's hard work. So if it's gonna be hard work, I may as well be actually enjoying it, and it serve me being a person. So that's what this has to be now. All right, so that's all well and good having a big old complaint, but what am I actually gonna do about any of that? Because I know you're probably thinking, is it even worth sticking around if it's not gonna be properly animated anymore? Not that it was ever animated to begin with, am I right? Oh, the people that complain about the animation story time. It's so funny. Like, does anybody remember there was that kind of fallout about Storytime Animation, and people were like, yeah, but it's not real animation. It's what the fuck do you expect? People to have budgets of TV shows? Of course it's not fully animated, you dweebs. All right, I poke fun at that, but guess who fell into that trap of feeling bad and guilty about it? This guy. All right, so I've identified the things that I need. I need to be able to get away from my desk. I need to be able to investigate things. I want to tell stories of stuff that's serving me now. And that can be things like just documenting my experience with doing things that I've been putting off for a long time. And that can be fun stuff like playing certain games. An example of something that I think could be kind of fun to document is me properly learning to skateboard. Classic. Don't have the time. What if I break my arm and I can't draw anymore? An opportunity for me to explore and enjoy the process of learning. I can have fun. I can be terrible at it. You can laugh at me, laugh with me, laugh at me, doesn't matter. But I'm doing something that I've wanted to do for such a long time. And the outcome of it, like I could test this out for a month, a week, see where I'm at, check back in with you and document it, being like, did I actually enjoy myself? Or is it something that I thought I'd like because it looks cool to me, but actually I don't actually enjoy it that much? Something I can find out. I think that's worth something. I think that's worth talking about. Trying stuff that I've been scared of because I thought either I'd be bad or I'm just straight up scared of it. And just seeing if I have a good time, seeing if I like it or not. I think that could be good. And I want to get excited about things again. Like you can see, I'm getting excited now, just the thought of this. Also, I should probably get a wrist brace so that like if I do fall, I won't break. I haven't broken a bone in my body yet, but there's still time. Just realized that this board almost matches my hair. Experimenting with certain drawing styles or different creative avenues that isn't just sitting in front of my Cintiq grinding, and not the good grinding. I need to be able to be flexible, and before people say, that's what your second channel is for. I know for a fact that if I started doing that on my second channel and enjoyed it, inevitably I would just be constantly posting on that. And then what would happen to this channel? Guess it would die. So with what I was saying about leaning into stuff I'm struggling with or want to improve at, for example, my ADHD. For the most time, it's a curse, but sometimes it's a blessing in that like hyperfocus is a real thing for me. Okay, so I can identify some struggles I have. What would happen if I lent in to both sides of that, the good and the bad? I just haven't had the time to like properly test things out and document how I respond to certain routines or stimulation, or what would that look like, you know? Or for example, the kind of spontaneity of like interests, because you know you could be on your computer editing stuff or like checking the news, and then you find something, and then you go, next thing you know you're like a few wiki pages deep and many articles down, and you've realized you've lost a few hours. But what if I actually utilize that power and like, okay, whenever that tangent kind of happens, lean into it, see where it goes. Like I can be honest about like timing myself, but this is an idea I had for like a reoccurring kind of, I don't want to call it a series because who knows what the fuck it's going to be. So I've had a good moan about how sitting in front of my Cintiq, sitting in front of a screen all day, digitally drawing has sucked. And part of that is also to do with being so used to hitting the undo button and like not being like gradually over time, the confidence in my skills being kind of undermined by just technology and not being in touch with what I'm actually drawing, kind of doing things like robotically rather than actually thinking about what I'm doing. Creativity and the art and doing art in any form is always going to be such a massive part of who I am. This is why I'm changing things up, is because I've identified that I've been struggling. I said that in a very Welsh accent. Struggling. I've been struggling. I've identified that I've been struggling for so long with art being my job. And it's because I love it so much that I know it needs to change up. Because more than anything, what I don't want to happen is for me to completely lose touch with my art and creativity. I need to repair that. And that's part of what I want to document with this new direction. I want to document me repairing that, because I know there are going to be shitloads of people out there that go through burnout or lose passion for something because it's become so tedious, or their job has kind of like ruined it for them, or they've kind of lost the heart in it. And I want to rediscover that. So with regard to animated stuff, what I'm looking at in future is a bit of a hybrid model. There is going to be a place for arty or illustrated or semi-animated aspects. There's a lot of times, I'm sure you can agree with the content you've watched of mine in the past, like the sections where it's just my character or like talking to the camera essentially, but it's like a drawn representation of myself. That could be just done by me talking. You know, those sections where animation isn't, or like the illustrated side isn't necessary, it doesn't need to be there. I can just talk about it. But there are going to be sections in future videos. It's going to be appropriate to do some illustrations to go with it. But I want to not limit myself to just like I said, problem with sitting in front of a screen for so long. I want to be able to do like paper cutouts or like build little sets and have little, I don't know if you've seen Noodle's channel, but he does like these little cutout things. I love that idea, but I saw that and I was like, damn, that would solve a lot of problems for me. So things like cutouts or like little breakaway sections where I can illustrate stuff or, you know, do artwork to go alongside with it to enhance the video as opposed to doing it for the sake of it. If you get what I mean, because there are going to be times where it's appropriate and it really adds to what I'm saying. And there are going to be times where it's just, it doesn't need to be there and it's an unnecessary amount of work. I don't need to do all that work all the time because it doesn't need to be done. It's so important, I realize, for me to learn again to just enjoy the process. That will also alleviate the pressure that I've put on myself to like the approval of like what I'm doing, because I just get to enjoy what I'm making and focus on that and not worry about like how massive of an impact it's going to make. If I'm just focusing on improving myself and enjoying the process or like putting that energy into investigating something, it's going to alleviate that pressure to make something show-stopping and groundbreaking or like whatever it is that I've got going on in my head that I think it needs to be. That came out of like wanting to please other people, for things, wanting for things to go viral. That recognition of like something you've made and people saying, yes, this is good job. If I'm focusing on like what I'm actually achieving myself, then it's a win-win. On that note of wanting to be more authentic, as wanky as that word is, I am a trans person and I am going to be changing. Part of the reason I have held off doing this kind of stuff for so long and stuck with old methods was because I was afraid to show myself on camera, especially before like I get HRT and stuff, because I was like, I'm going to be changing and I may as well wait until it's all done or like I'm passing a bit more so that people don't get confused or people aren't going to leave horrible comments or people are doing that anyway. From all the research I've been doing over the years and like what I've experienced since I was a kid and stuff, like I know it's right for me and I'm on this journey, and if I keep waiting for people to approve of me before I can just do my own thing, then that ain't gonna work. I have just got to be confident in myself and just what I'm doing and enjoying it, so much so that I just don't care. And that is where I'm at. What I'm going to do is be unapologetically who I am. And there are going to be times where my transition or who I am is relevant to what I'm talking about. But there are going to be a lot of times where it's just not, because I just want to be me. And I've been afraid to do that for so long because I've been afraid of people being awful. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to be talking about games or talking about art or talking about things I'm researching or things that I'm experimenting with or stuff that I've discovered that I'm interested in. It is a part of me, but it isn't the focus by any means. Like, it will come up because it's kind of a big part of my life, especially at this tumultuous time where I'm going to be going through the process of transitioning. But it's only a part of me. It is something that I'm happy to talk about, but it's not the main thing I'm going to be talking about. So what I'm saying is, if you've enjoyed what I've made so far, I think it's just going to be just more of that, but just more flexible to look at other topics and be interested in things. I am a creator that happens to be trans. That is absolutely okay. I have wrestled with being scared of telling people that because ultimately people make it their deal when it doesn't need to be. But if you're of the opinion that it's like, oh no, you've come out as trans, I'm gonna unfollow you now. Cool. Because I didn't have friends growing up and because I didn't have a great time, so much of my identity was wrapped up in just focusing on what other people wanted and leaning into anything I was praised for, being a people pleaser. Unlearning that has been really painful. It's been hard because I've had to look at myself and be like, who the fuck even are you? What do you want? And that's what I want to find out. If anybody's watching that is also kind of toying with that and thinking, what do I really like outside of people that I need to please in life, or my job, or my boss, or my parents, my friends, who am I? And I hope that by me doing this, it'll encourage other people to explore and try and understand, like, what really does make you tick? What do you enjoy in life? Not everybody can just drop what they're doing for a job if you hate your job. But what can you start doing that will bring that joy into your life, bring that inspiration? Like, have you always wanted to start playing a certain game or read a certain book? You know, even small things like that, or go on a trip, or just spend like an hour a day not on your phone. So anything. There are things that we can identify that we need, and that's important. That's, I guess, the vibe that I want to put out with what I'm doing from now on, is embrace what you enjoy, but also let yourself experiment with things. And it's okay to try something and then be like, it's not for me. Because at least then you've tried it. You have an experience under your belt. You can say, it's not about getting those points in for saying, I've tried all these things. It's just like, isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting to do something and have an opinion on it of whether you liked it or not without dragging other people down, you know? And now for an abrupt change of style. I don't know, just thought I'd end the video with a little taster section for these cutouts I was talking about. I had a lot of fun making them, although all of the outfits are different, because I couldn't decide on one, so deal with it. But honestly though, congrats on listening for this long if you're still with me, because God, I talked a lot. I don't know, I just felt like I just wanted to explain the situation, or maybe I just completely overshared. Who knows? Might help somebody, might just be waffle, but I put it out there anyway. So to wrap this up, for the people who are still undecided on whether to stick around, the next video is almost ready to go, and I wanted to give you a little teaser, so here are some test clips taken from across, I guess, the last month of just me playing around with the idea of making a video about self-expression. I don't know, finding out what I actually like to wear has helped my dysphoria, but it's also been a hell of a journey. I am considerably more happy than I was back when I was younger. I have so much fun with what I wear now, and if I can spread this plague of joy and soothe the side of my ego that wants to help others have the confidence to just wear whatever the fuck they want, then, you know, why not? Why not do that? And then there are gonna be lots of other videos, some talking about some stuff with ADHD, some experiments, some weird shit that I've just discovered and I want to talk about. And I mean, I guess if you're interested in hearing the effect that testosterone gel has on the body, then you'll also be hearing my voice drop and watching me change over time. And I'm going to be unafraid to show that, because I can't wait like a year to make videos, be like, yes, I am me now, accept me. It's like, you either accept me now or you don't. So that's what you got. Yeah, maybe pulling a number out of my ass here, but I'm gonna say 2 weeks for the next video. I want to get it out soon, genuinely, just because I'm excited to do it and I'm excited to make videos again. Anyway, hope to see you in 2 weeks, or if not, I guess bye!